An unexpected bank call informed me that my account held an unimaginable fortune, but when I sought the truth, the manager's revelation uncovered a shocking secret tied to my identity. I had always believed that the people who win in life are not necessarily the smartest. They are simply the most patient. They know when to stay quiet, when to watch, and when to make the final move. I was one of those people. That's why when I received a call from my bank on a Tuesday morning, I reached for a notebook instead of panicking. I lived in a small suburban house outside Boston. I was 45 years old and worked in the administrative office of a hospital. Every month I checked my 401k contributions. My daughter was in college, and I was still saving to help with her student loans. My life was a typical American life. Not the Instagram version. The real one. The man on the phone introduced himself. "This is Martin from First Union Bank." "Yes. You'll need to come into the bank today." "Why?" There was a brief silence. "It's regarding your account." Picked up my pen. "What's the issue?" "I can't discuss it over the phone." Then the call ended. I immediately opened my banking app, checked my account, then checked it again, and then one more time. There were $18 million sitting in my account. Closed the app, then opened it again. The money was still there. Most people would have lost their minds with excitement. I didn't. I don't react. Plan. I took screenshots, saved the transaction numbers, then went to work. I didn't tell anyone all day. That evening I went straight to the bank. Martin was waiting for me. He led me into a private office, closed the door, then placed a thick file on the desk in front of me. But instead of speaking immediately, he remained silent. Silence is often a more powerful weapon than information. Finally he opened the file. "Ms. Avery, this money was not deposited by mistake." I remained silent. "It was transferred from a trust account." "Whose trust?" He looked directly into my eyes. "That's why you're here." He slid the first page toward me. A name was printed at the top. Jonathan Reed. I had never heard the name before. "I don't know him." "We know." "Then why would he leave me money?" Martin opened a second file. This one contained photographs, old government records, birth certificates, court documents, and then a photograph. I stared at it. For the first time my hands trembled slightly. It was my mother, 20 years younger, standing beside a young man, Jonathan Reed. Silence filled the room. "What is this?" Martin spoke carefully. "Before you were born, your mother and Jonathan Reed were engaged." I said nothing. Then he suddenly disappeared. "And he never knew you were born." My breathing slowed. The game had changed. I was no longer sitting there because of money. I was learning about my identity. Martin handed me another document. 6 months ago, while dealing with a serious illness, he learned the truth. From whom? A private investigator. Closed the file. Then opened it again. The details were complete. DNA test results, old letters, witness statements, everything. Jonathan Reed was my biological father, the man I had never known, and he had died 2 months earlier, leaving his entire fortune to me. I sat silently for several seconds. Then Martin pulled out another file. "There's one more problem." I looked at him. This time the name was different. Brian Reed. Jonathan's nephew. "He's contesting the trust." At last I could see the entire board. This wasn't just an inheritance. It was a battle. Over the next several weeks I prepared. I hired an excellent probate attorney. Obtained every record. Read every document. Checked every signature. Reviewed every date. Then I discovered something else. Brian had attempted to manipulate inheritance records. Some documents had been altered. Some information had been concealed. Legally, it was dangerous territory. I didn't rush. I waited. In chess, the person who rushes usually loses. On Christmas Eve, the final settlement meeting was held between the family and the attorneys. Brian arrived full of confidence. He believed he had already won. I remained quiet. My attorney remained quiet. Then the right moment arrived. My attorney placed one file on the table, then another, then a third. The color drained from Brian's face. Inside were all the documents proving his forgery. His emails, the altered records, his signatures, everything. Complete silence filled the room. No one spoke. They didn't have to. The truth was speaking for itself. Finally Brian said, "When did you gather all of this?" I took a sip of water. "While you thought I was grieving over an inheritance." Then silence. The kind of silence that follows defeat. 2 months later, the court issued its ruling. The trust was transferred entirely into my name. Brian's claims were dismissed. His forgery became part of the official record. The law did its job. And so did I. Today, my life hasn't changed all that much. I still wake up every morning. I still go to work. I still check my 401k. I still buy groceries. Only one thing is different. That day, I didn't just receive a fortune. Found my identity. For most of my life, I believed my story was complete. The truth was that the final chapter had never been written. And when that chapter finally opened, I discovered that the most surprising inheritance is not money. It is the truth. The kind of truth that remains silent for years. Then one day it makes its move. And changes the entire board.